to start tonight's show with a music video, The Shepherd's Call. And really, it's by Suzanne Teng, written and performed by Suzanne Teng and Gilbert Levy. I mean, it's a call to love. It's a call for us to come together in love and for love. Suzanne and Gilbert. Hi, we're on the set with Michael. Welcome, Michael. It's great to have you again.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Good. So, you know, at the opening, I was talking about like this being a transition period, and we talked about that a little earlier. Why don't you, you know, give your take on it and your view? I mean, you travel all over the world with all this.
I'm transitioning all the time. Pretty soon I'll look different, you know.
Right, I know.
Besides getting older.
I understand that too.
Well, everything's speeding up. One of the things I think everyone's aware of is everything's going so fast. And a lot of things I'm seeing is people trying to keep up with how fast the world's going. And what I see is we need to slow down. We don't need to slow the world down, but we need to slow down. And it's like if you're sitting by the riverbank and watching the river gushing by, if you jump in and go against it, you're just going to get slammed. But if you sit alongside and you can enjoy how fast it's going, and it's not going to hurt you, you're not going to drown. And this is the way I see the speeding up of everything in the world. And part of that speed up is as human consciousness, as everyone's consciousness is going up, the frequency is speeding up. And that's what's helping everything go faster and faster. And so we need to enjoy that speed up instead of trying to control it or trying to keep up with it or, do something about it. And so this is where a lot of people are being kind of burnt out, overwhelmed. That's something I've been hearing more and more every day. People saying, I'm overwhelmed, I'm overwhelmed. And I know exactly how they feel.
No, I think everybody does. Yeah,
because so much going on.
Right.
Yeah, and so, what is that? What's the part of us that tries to hold on to having to control all the stuff that's going down and all the stuff that's coming up and everything's going on is fear. It's our survival, and says, well, we got to be in charge of it, we got to control it. And no, the speed up is forcing everybody. There's no way that anybody can really stay on top of all of it. And even institutions, you know, whether it's governmental, political, insurance agencies, whatever, you can tell they're bursting at the seams. They don't know how to manage this. And pretty soon it's going to get to a place where nobody's going to be able to manage it in the sense of, you know, ruling over it. And so you're just going to have to let it go, and you have to start to develop the trust within yourself. And this is naturally almost forcing people to have to look within, have to go, okay, there's got to be something other than struggling against it. I have to be able to go with it. And in order to go with it, it's like, you know, people who do skydiving or anything that's pretty scary, right? And once you're committed, you have to let go. You can't be struggling against it, or else you're not going to make it. And so this is a time where we are able to find that trust within ourselves. Another thing I notice is people being very impatient. You know, we're in an age where computers are measured in fractions of nanoseconds, and how fast can you get your burgers? And the video games are getting faster. TV, it used to be, just a couple years ago, they used to talk about the 2-minute soundbite. Now it's like the 20-second soundbite, right? And so things are going so fast, and people are getting so impatient. You know, I even find myself, sometimes I push the computer button and the email takes a long time. It takes like 5 seconds to download, right? And you're going, oh, this is taking too long. And we have to kind of step back and go, wait a minute, what is all this impatience? The impatience, and when people are trying to be, they say, oh, I'm practicing, I'm trying to be more patient, but you can't. You can't practice being patient. You're going to end up just tolerating and holding back. In order to develop patience, a person has to trust. Patience is a function of trust. So you can't make patience, you can't do patience, but if you start to trust yourself more, then you'll find that patience just comes as a result of it. That's that slowing down in relationship to how fast everything's going. So that's kind of one of the main things I've been noticing in this step up of energy and consciousness.
And would you say that, I mean, on some level, although it's speedier now, I mean, in essence, all the spiritual paths and all the spiritual teachers throughout history are to somehow come into that quiet, that slowness, that moment, to live in the moment. Yep. And that's where, you know, there's not all the story that goes on either side.
Exactly, because the only place that we can experience truth is right here, right now. Not yesterday, not in the future, not 10 minutes from now. That's all fiction. We just imagine it, we just make it up. But if you could be right here, right now, present, then you'll experience what's true to you. And you were talking about all the spiritual teachers and healers and leaders. I know we have right now more spiritual teachers, leaders, and healers than any other time in history. And there's going to be more. We're going to flood the market.
It's a good plan, really.
Yeah. If McDonald's could do it with their burgers, right. I just see these golden arches,
arches.
Yeah, with 1 billion healers present. So we're going to outnumber everything, and right. I have really high hopes for this planet. And you know, what's Armageddon? It's basically, that's a place, right? In a biblical historical level, that's a place where this major battle was fought. But for most people in the world, when you hear Armageddon, this is this time that's been prophesied for centuries that the forces of evil and the forces of good are going to clash, and there's going to be this big battle to duke it out. Well, it's not there's gonna be. We've been living it all the time. Another thing in this major transition in this time, people are asking about or thinking about war. Right? There's war and 9/11 and terrorism and all of this. And there's when people come up and they go, well, what can I do? You know, I'm a housewife. I have 3 children at home. I'm a business person, you know, so forth and so on. How can I do anything about the war? And there's a very simple answer. It's you have to look at what's making that war happen in the world. And there's a lot of people who go, well, I'm not against Christians or I'm not against Muslim. I don't go around killing somebody of a different religion, and so I'm not contributing to that war. But it's not true. If you look, all of us have wars going on inside every day. You know, some of the nicest people, and you turn around and they're beating their kids, or they get angry at something and they're chewing themselves out. If they're not taking it out on anybody else, how many people every day take it out on themselves? You know, they kick themselves, they blame themselves, they criticize themselves. That's war. And as long as one has wars going on inside of themselves,
it's going to manifest.
It's going to manifest somewhere. It's, right. You know, a parent is having a war inside of himself, and the children are going to pick it up, and they're going to go and beat up the other kid. And then it just goes on and on and on. So, as you say, you know, this is oneness. But oneness goes both ways. You know, it's because it's oneness. If somebody abuses someone else, it just goes in a kind of a ripple. It goes out in this whole...
Yeah, the dominoes fall in that direction.
Because it's all one. Now, on the other side, if someone heals someone, or even themselves, then that ripples. And which is more powerful? One person healing, one person validating that divine source within oneself, the source of one's own being, versus a person who beats it. Okay? It's just, you know, as far as 2 individuals, it seems like 1 to 1. But no, because if you examine what is the nature of that divine beingness that we all are, it doesn't kill, it doesn't maim, it doesn't destroy, you know, against someone. It doesn't go against anyone. And so when you go with it, when you're in alignment with that, then it's going to be quadruply powerful, even if it's one person. Whereas if you're going against it, it's only the power of that one individual. So it doesn't take a lot of people. It takes a lot of people to destroy, but it doesn't take a lot of people to heal. It only takes one. And that brings out that oneness. And that healing of spirit is restoring all the illusions, all the ways we think and feel that's divisive. We go against something. And if we start to repeal that, when you start to repair that division, then naturally spirit is one. So we start to experience it. Spirit doesn't have to do it. It's our consciousness. We have to put our consciousness to repair that. Then we get to experience that oneness that's already there. So this is the place that I see. It's all coming to this. And as it's coming to this crescendo, that's this Armageddon. The wars have been going on all along, inside of us, outside of us, and as more people start to become conscious of, hey, this is not only old, you know, I've been there, done that, I'm tired of it. And so people are starting to become more aware, more mindful, and I'm not going to contribute to this anymore. They're not necessarily, it's not a cry for dropping out of society. It's to, how do you fully participate in the world and not become of it? Okay? And the world's going faster, but you don't want to become of it, then you go into a spin cycle, you get overwhelmed. But if you could participate in it, and go, wow, it's going really fast. We have to all learn how to surf, you know, and learn how to read the waves in the world. Some of those waves are pretty big, and they're kind of scary looking. But a good surfer even if he's scared, he goes, okay, that's how it's going. You have to learn to read it. And to read it,
well, if you have faith and you can go with it.
you go with it, yeah.
Right,
You ride it, and then it's fun, and it's
fun.
fun, exciting, and it takes you to shore, you know, in a fast way. And so, to read the waves, to read the rapids, you know, for river guides, reading the rapids, and unless they do, they crash, and so everyone has to learn to read the flow of the universe, the flow of the world. Which way is the wind blowing?
And actually, it's more an internal seeing rather than an external seeing.
Absolutely, it's seeing
So
with
it's
your
turning,
third eye.
yeah, turning within and seeing the truth in a way, the real thing you are.
Exactly, and then you get to see the relationship between that which you are and what's going on, all the forces that's going on, which is neither bad or good. It's just positive and negative flowing. And this is where people, maybe I think you've been aware of a lot of people coming to you, and they're opening up psychically. Their intuitive levels are opening up, their sensitivity's opening up, and they don't know what to do with it.
Right.
Those who have been meditating for a long time, practicing things, well, it's old hat, and it's oh yeah, this is where it's at. But people who haven't been interested in that, they've been pouring their attention on their businesses and, you know, survival and whatever, family and everything, and they haven't had the time, or they didn't take the time to start to become more aware of what is this spirit? What is this energy? The spirit has many faces, and we forget that. We forget to validate that spirit, and spirit is energy for one thing. And so, how do you read that energy in the world? How do you read what's going on? And this is what's opening up people to more subtle levels of energy. People assume they see this stuff, you know, it's all. But this is energy too.
Right.
So pretty soon, if you can see this stuff, and you get more interested to see more of what the universe is made up of, the air is energy. And when I was a kid, I used to say, the air around people have colors. And everybody would go, air doesn't have color. You can't
Right, so you were
air.
seeing what people call their aura,
Auras.
and you were just calling it air around them.
Because
right.
it's like the air.
Right,
You know?
no, I mean, it's
Yeah.
a simple purity. I mean, I remember at some point I said about an island, look at that piece of land with water around it, because at that moment, it was just, that's the
There's
simple
no
way, there's no concept
yeah.
about it,
Yeah.
or definition.
Yeah. And unfortunately, you know, we need concepts to communicate, but unfortunately, we get lazy. And so when we get lazy, we give our power to the concept, and we stop seeing. We stop feeling. We stop really experiencing that island or that aura or that air, and we just assume we know it all. It says, oh yeah, that island, I know what you're talking about.
Right.
Well, I never even touched it. I never even felt it. But just because I know the word, I assume I know it.
And we're on a tremendous momentum that way, and we're not in the moment with it.
That's right.
Do you know what I mean? So it's not like, in essence, born again, not in a Christian sense, but born again that we're
come back into
the
the body.
moment.
Yep.
And each moment there's a whole new body of water, a whole
Exactly.
new energy around you.
That saying, familiarity breeds contempt. Well, oh, your family, I already know you. I've lived with you for umpteen years. So all of a sudden, I've alienated myself from you because I already know you.
Right, the reality of me in that moment, because we're constantly changing.
Yeah. So how many times, you know, you're a grown adult and you go, quote, home, back to family that you grew up with, and you walk in the front door and everybody says hi and you feel like you're 12 years old.
Right, you go suck your thumb in the corner.
Exactly.
It takes me about 9 minutes before, Mommy, make me a little lunch, will you? I'll stop sucking my thumb any minute now.
Exactly.
No, it's amazing. I see it.
Yeah.
I see a comment. It's like, oh my God,
because
this is
that's
frightening.
They're expecting
that, oh yeah, that's Alan. That's Alan, my baby, you know.
Right, right.
Scary thought.
I know. At this point, it's like, oh my God, what happened here? You know, my baby.
You used to be so cute.
I know. Exactly. They lost that a long time ago. Man.
No wonder they want to keep us being a little baby, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So, you know, it's that's one of the things that we invalidate without even thinking about it, because we assume, not even about the other person, we think we get so familiar with the other person, we know it all, and we stop experiencing them. But before we do that, we've forgotten about ourselves.
That's the first step.
Yeah, we assume, of course I exist.
I mean, that's why the whole concept of being born again without all its concepts and rituals is really a beautiful thing, to wake up every morning
and you're born again.
And born again. And it's not like, well, here's my, you know, that you become a robot through your life, that you're alive in your life.
Every little child's born again every morning, and many times during the day. They go out and they come back into their body and go, whoa, look at this. And look at kids, they can watch the same movie 85 times. And each time they see something different. And they can tell you about it, whereas you go, oh, I already saw that. Okay? And so every day we assume, of course I exist. What do you think I am? But do I know I exist? Do I really experience my existence? No, most people don't.
We're too busy. We're around in our busyness.
Yeah.
Our busyness, our habit patterns, our rituals.
Yeah. So this is a time to stop and not only smell the roses, but we have to stop and go, oh, I have to be conscious. Do I exist? Yes, I exist. And where people feel they can't know themselves is not only are they assuming that they exist all the time, but they can't have just existing the truth that they exist.
And that's enough that they don't have to have another identity of being a father,
who am I?
Businessman,
exactly, or successful, or whatever.
Right.
And so they get caught up in all the trappings, and they forget the simplest part is we have to start with dropping the assumption that we exist and recognize, oh,
experience ourselves.
I actually experience that I exist. I don't have to know exactly what that means. The first step is I exist. And all of a sudden something starts to happen. The peripheral vision, you know, even on a physical level, you'll notice the peripheral vision starts to open up. And you go, well, you know, I do exist, and all of a sudden the colors become brighter. Because the minute I go, I exist, I'm validating spirit. I'm validating that which I am without having to nail down and conceptualize exactly what does that mean.
You're not putting weight, you know, all the weight of all the concepts, and you're lighter and lighter and lighter, and then everything is lighter and lighter.
You're aware of the whole oneness, and but most of the times we're like this.
Right. Yeah, right. All right, maybe what we'll do now is see the second Suzanne video, which is, you know, a really beautiful one. It's again Suzanne Tang and Gilbert Levy from their CD Mystic Journey, Clouds Across the Darkness.
was beautiful, wasn't it? So we're back with Michael. So why don't you talk a little more about like this period of transition, and then maybe, you know, in a few minutes you can actually teach a tool for helping, you know, remember yourself. And
yeah, that's one of the things where so many people, you know, there's been so many books, so many teachers, so many programs that show people or tell people, okay, this is what's going on, and people are getting it. There's a lot of people starting to go, I get it. And the next step is, okay, I get it, now what? You know, what do I do? How can I integrate this into my life? And that's the key here. This is a time of integration, part of this shift. This transition is one of integration, personal integration, which to me means you, the soul, you, the spiritual personality, has to integrate into this body, to really incarnate into this, more fully into this body here and now.
And manifest that.
Manifest yourself.
Right.
Manifest who you are. And that's going to be different. You do it differently than I do it, because we're of the same oneness, except we have
different flavors.
Different flavors.
Right, and we won't go into which flavors we are at this point. We'll spare everyone that particular discussion.
So then it's the next step is, okay, I want to express. Also, that's what I hear from a lot of people is, okay, Michael, you know I'm a healer. I know I'm here to help people. How do I get there? How do I do that? And when you're looking at it as it's something separate from yourself, it's a great thing when you start to feel that, okay, I need to do something different, you know, change of jobs, change of venue, whatever. That's like a time of graduation. Okay? So it's not a problem. People look at it as, oh my God, I have to change jobs, or I have to do something different, I don't know what to do. It's not a problem. It's like graduation. You finished. You've known yourself to a certain degree, and out of that knowing of yourself, you've done certain things to fulfill yourself. Now, you've done that. You finished that part. Now, when you start to feel like there's something else you need to do, something new you need to do, that change, then you just have to get to know yourself to the next level. The more you start to know the next part of you, the doing comes naturally. Okay? The doing is not forced. It just comes out of your knowing of who you are. So you know yourself. You're
building up momentum to be you, and then whatever you do will have that growth and that momentum.
Yeah, it just, you know, it's like on an oversimplified... It's
natural, it becomes natural.
Yeah, oversimplified level is if you find out, oh, gee, I have artistic tendencies, then you start practicing drawing or something, or taking a class in art. And so it just naturally follows. But it doesn't happen until you go, oh, I have this, I have these qualities.
Or even just being open to it, even though you kind of knew it, but that's possible that I could actually do that.
Actually, yeah. And so that's the empowerment part of, you have to, once you start to go, oh, I love helping people. The greatest joy I get is seeing people get well, people get successful, happy, expressive, whatever it is. Then you start finding out, oh, that's because that's the thing you have the most to offer. In fact, so many people confuse the issue because they think they want to, they want it, they need it. But the thing they feel they need the strongest, the greatest longing for something, is actually because that's what you have the most to share. It's not because you're lacking it and wanting it from everybody else. You want to share it, but you haven't given yourself the permission to share it. So it becomes...
That's what's most in harmony with you, actually. If you found out who you were, that would be what would naturally come forth.
It's so obvious and simple, because if you watch the people who are constantly saying, oh, I want more love in my life, more love in my life, you look at it, they're so full of love, they just haven't had the opportunity or created the space to share it with anybody. And so they're constipated.
Right.
You know,
they're clogged up.
They're clogged up with all this wonderful stuff they have to offer. Somebody is complaining, oh, the world is full of liars, and you know, there needs to be more truth. How come we can't have more truth? Well, you look at them, the reason they're saying that is because they have so much contact with truth that they see it, they know it. It's the only part that's frustrating them is they didn't learn how to share it. And they get rejected every time they give it to the wrong people because they reject them. But that doesn't invalidate the fact that they have a lot of truth, or they have a lot of love, or they have a lot of compassion, or kindness, or whatever to share. Creativity. Some people just have so much creativity and they don't know what to do with it. And then they feel very lonely and isolated, not because they are, not because they're alone, but because they haven't shared it with anybody in the world. They get hung up on somebody didn't like it, somebody rejected them. And so you can't be faint of heart these days. You have to.
No, you have to be bold.
Bold, yeah. You have to go, okay, well, this person couldn't have it.
You got nothing to lose.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the real what you begin to see.
You don't have anything to start with, so
right.
there's nothing.
Yeah, really. Where are you going?
The only thing you can lose is your pride,
Right, and ego.
Yeah.
And after a while, it's like,
so
that isn't really helping much. Yeah, that really isn't helping much.
Yeah.
So, do you have like specific tools or techniques that you could help people?
Yeah.
So why don't you do that? I know people love when you do that. So yeah, if you got one, that'd be great.
So, let's see. First of all, if all of you could just settle in and close your eyes. I've always wanted to do this on TV, and you turn on the TV and I go, okay, now you can close your eyes.
And now you're going to make faces at everybody.
Yeah, I'm going to make faces.
And I'm going to have to bear the brunt of it. All right.
So go ahead and close your eyes, even though this is TV, and breathe. Now, a lot of times people say, take a deep breath. But I found that if you give yourself a deep breath, it works differently. You could even try it. Take a deep breath and then see what happens, and then just change the concept and give yourself a deep breath and see what happens. Now, as you're kind of relaxing and breathing, become aware of that space right behind your eyes in the center of your head, and just decide you can be there. This is an area that in the body you could become the most aware as a spiritual being, to operate, to function as a spirit, right behind your eyes in the center of your head. And just simply, consciously validate that you exist. Just recognize. This is not an intellectual exercise. Just recognize. Oh, I exist. You don't have to know what you exist as, what you could be, were, didn't, anything like that. It's just that you exist. And notice what happens when you just put your attention on, I exist. No reasons, no identification, just that you exist. And notice you have a lot of certainty. There's no doubt that you exist. This is too simple, so most people don't pay attention. They assume. So right now, just be very conscious that you exist and that you can exist right behind your eyes in the center of your head. From here, you could participate in life without becoming it. And it's different than being an observer where you're separate from life and looking into it. You're right in the midst of it, but you don't get swallowed up by all the action, all the energy that's going around. Now, also become aware of that space right above the tip of your tailbone, inside your body, right above the tip of your tailbone. Become aware of that space. There's an energy center. It's about the size of $50. And you could just imagine, if you don't see it right away, just imagine it's a spot of light about the size of $50. And this is the center of self-preservation. Very important energy center. It keeps everything together. It really ultimately keeps all your cells together and keeps your form. So would you say, mentally just say hello to it. Just give it permission to exist. Since it's already there, give it permission to exist. Be conscious of this space. And from there, imagine a tree trunk or a big pole. Going from there, connecting that energy center to the center of the earth. Just imagine it going all the way to the center of the earth, and it connects right into the center of the earth and connects that energy center above the tip of your tailbone to the center of the earth. And imagine all this energy, excess energy that you have, energy you pick up from other people, energy you pick up from the environment, negativity, whatnot, that you've held on to, just let it go. Just imagine it falling off and just falling down into the center of the earth. Notice what happens. Notice any differences. Now, breathe again. And one of the things that we tend to bump into, most people don't realize that what they think and what they feel are not necessarily their own. We're all psychic beings. We're all very spiritually, energetically sensitive beings. So during the course of a busy day, we're interacting with a lot of people, whether it's on the phone or in person, or driving in the freeways and the whole bit. There's all this energy that everybody's radiating out energy and thoughts. People are throwing thoughts around, even if they don't verbalize them, they're throwing thoughts around. They're emoting their feelings all over the place. And how often do you get splattered by all of this? You pick it up during the day. So sometimes, if you're not aware, you start picking up these energies of emotions, feelings, people's thoughts, and you carry them around and you're being aware of them, but not being aware that they're not yours. So you think, God, why am I thinking this? Why am I don't want to think these thoughts. I don't want to think these thoughts. And I keep on thinking them, and they're not your thoughts. That's why you can't control them. That's why you can't seem to do anything about it, because you're just picking it up, just like a radio. If you tune on to, station 101.5 or something like that, whatever they're broadcasting is all you're going to get. You might not like the music, but you can't change it. That's all you get. And so you're picking that up. You have to change the channel. So how you do that is, first, ask yourself, how much of what I'm feeling right now is mine, and how much of it is someone else's? So just to kind of get the idea, if you'll just intuitively, off the top of your head, get a number from 0 to 100%, or if you're more visual, you can make a gauge from 0 to 100% and visualize it, and ask, how much of the energy I'm feeling, the feelings that I'm feeling right now, are not mine? From 0 to 100%. What percentage do you get? Do you get 35%, 80%, 90%? And you might be surprised that the percentage might be fairly high of everything you're feeling right now, how much is not yours. So whatever that percentage is, just kind of be amused and go, okay, great, so that part's not mine. I don't need to solve it. I don't need to figure it out. I don't need to take responsibility for it. I just picked it up. So just decide, ask your awareness on a feeling level, okay, let's detach from that. And would you ask that awareness that was being aware of that 30 or 90 or 50% of energy that wasn't yours, and decide that part is going to become aware of your energy. Just ask that awareness, okay, instead of hanging on to this energy, being aware of this energy, would you turn toward and be aware of my own energy? Again, you don't have to consciously or intellectually know what that means, but just give that intention to the awareness to be aware of your own energy, to feel your own energy, and notice what starts to happen. Now, on the other side, you can do the same thing. Ask yourself, how much of what I'm thinking, what's in my mind right now in the form of thoughts, are my thoughts? How much are other people's thoughts? And just put up a gauge, or just on the top of your head, get a figure from 0 to 100% as you ask, how much of the thoughts I'm thinking right now, or aware of, is not mine? Get a percentage figure. What do you get? So whatever you get, whether it's 10% or 90% or 70%, that's, of all the thoughts that's going around in your mind right now, that's what's not yours. And once again, just let the thoughts just disperse, let it go, and just decide, okay, instead of paying attention to those thoughts that are not mine, I'm going to turn my awareness to my own energy and see what changes in your mind, changes in your head. See if it gets a little bit quieter. And as your awareness is turning toward your own energy in your mind, you might notice as it gets quieter, there's space actually to creatively think, to have new thoughts. Okay? So if you're writers or creative people, you have a writer's block or something like that, this is a really good exercise. What a writer's block a lot of times is in your working space, you get so concentrated in your mind and everybody else's energy gets in there and you can't think. There's no inspiration anymore. It's full. So you have to empty it out. Now, you've had a few minutes here to turn your awareness to your own energy on a feeling level, turn your awareness to your own energy on a thinking level, and notice the difference of where you are now. Do you feel different? Are you in a different space? This is, you're starting to become aware of your own energy. You don't have to identify again, am I a businessman, or am I a pretty, or am I smart? No, it's not about judgments, it's not about identifying those kind of things. It's about recognizing and experiencing that fundamental energy that is you. This is part of spirit. Spirit is energy, spirit is that you exist, and spirit is consciousness. Notice your awareness, notice the energy, notice that you are, and you've started to give yourself space to be a spiritual being in this body. Give yourself some deep breaths and validate yourself for the spirit that you are in this body of yours. Give yourself a nice hello and welcome aboard. I love you. And would you imagine this nice big gold sun above your head, warm, full of life force, and let it come down into your head, from the top of your head, and permeate your whole body. Fill your whole body up from the top of your head to the tips of your fingers and your toes. And when you're ready, stretch gently, open your eyes, look around, and notice how things look.